his way. How did he get there? So the end is, it's a big schus to give money to a tzaddik emes. If you ever meet a tzaddik emes or a big tzaddik, take out your wallet and give him some money. Lamashal. So he brings a mashal to explain. Ben shenesrachek me'aviv v'haben yesh lo ga'agum gedol me'olav. You have a son who's gone away from his father, for whatever, not a bad reason, like sometimes you learn. They became far away. And the son has ga'aguim, very deep yearning. He's in pain for his father. He wants to see his father again. And the father also has ga'aguim. He yearns for his son. It took some time, but the father decided, I'm going to travel towards my son. And at the same time, the son decided, I have to see my father. I need to reunite with him. And they both travel to meet each other. And the closer they get to each other, the yearning grows. The deep desire to be reunited grows. And they continue to travel towards each other. The father to the son, and the son to the father, traveling closer. Until they got so close that there's only 2 parsos, 2 miles. We'll just say, for example, there's 2 miles that separate them. And the father understands his yearning for his son. If he allows these ga'agum to continue getting stronger, it's almost hard to imagine this, because this is a very emotional state, and we should never be so far from our children or parents, or that we should have such feelings. It's hard to have such feelings, but if you've ever experienced ga'aguim, Nachman is saying they get very, very strong as you get closer. There's very deep excitement. If you would allow the yearning to run its course, says Rabbi Nachman, the father would not be able to make it. He would be so excited. His yearning would be so great. It would pain him in a certain way. He won't be able to continue if he allowed the ga'agum to just continue on their course. The son, the same thought. He can't anymore endure these ga'agum. He can't do it. It's like a funny thing. You'd think, Adarabba, if you're so close, go the last mile. You can make it. But somehow, and if someone could explain it a little bit better, we're all willing to hear. The ga'agum are so strong they don't even think they can go. They're going to become frozen with this yearning.
I would say it's like meeting a celebrity who you're passionate about.
Okay.
And you get so excited, you're speechless when you meet them. You almost can't do anything. You're frozen.
So here, we're not even getting there yet. So you're saying even.
Yeah. Well, this is before the actual joining.
The thought of the actual reunification is.
Yeah, it's greater. It's much greater.
But you're frozen. You can't move. Okay. We should be zochen, maybe not to experience such a thing. The son feels that if he allows his ga'agum to continue growing, he actually might die from this excitement, this yearning. He might actually die. And so he decides, I have to throw my ga'agum away. I cannot make it. I can't go that last mile. I'll die. So he says, I have to just throw it away. I have to go do something else. I have to let it leave my mind. He was ready to drop the whole thing. He's waiting years to see his father, but he doesn't think he can make it, so he's ready to push it away. As he's cheshboning whether he should give up going or not. Somebody comes with a wagon. What's chotaf? Snatches him. Like this lashon by the afikomen. They chap the afikomen. Chotaf ben, he grabs the son, He doesn't give the son a chance to think. He just grabs the son and goes the last 2 miles and drops him in front of the father. How awesome is the delight, the pleasure that this driver of the wagon provided for the son of the father, that he had quickly got the son to the father and the son didn't stop his journey. Because of these gagum. This is the mashal. V'chein tzaddik, says Rabbi Nachman, shu ben Hashem Yisbarach. A tzaddik is like a son to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Now we are all children to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So there's something he means here that the tzaddik is a ben, and I guess in a more special way to the father, to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Umachmas mosach hamavdil, because there's a mesach hamavdil, there's a partition. There's something, a mechitza. Nisrachik me'aviv yisbarach. The tzaddik is distant from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Now you can't say it's a sin. Even we're not going. That's not probably not what he means over here, right? Very often that lashon is when a person sins, you make a mechitza between you and Shemayim, between you and a Kodesh Baruch Hu. But I don't think it's what Rabbi Nachman means over here. The yesh ga'agum kiviyachol Hashem Yisbarach, and the tzaddik has great yearning to be close to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. V'chin tzaddik lachzor l'skar Hashem Yisbarach. I'm sorry. The yesh ga'agum kiviyachol Hashem Yisbarach. I'm sorry. There's great ga'agum that a Kodesh Baruch Hu has, the father, for his son, the tzaddik. V'chein tzaddik, and the tzaddik also has great ga'agum. Lachzor l'skarev Hashem Yisbarach, to return and become close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's right. So it's a father and a son, a Kodesh Baruch Hu and a tzaddik. Ubesoch shehem miskarev zelazeh, and they start coming closer to each other. Ad shegiu smuchim zelazeh, until they get to a point where they're very close. They're very close, like before Shtei Parsos. Vein beineim rak herchik ma'at. There's a little bit of distance between them. Now, what's the distance between you and a Kodesh Baruch Hu? It's not like a father and son. It's not a physical distance. So I don't have all the answers right now. But everything has to be explained. What is the distance? What makes someone far from the Kodesh Baruch Hu or close? Physical? What, if I'm by the Kodesh Maravi, I'm close. And if I'm in New York, I'm far? No.
Emotional.
Emotional. Do you feel close? Do you not feel close? Whose choice is that?
Yours.
I hope so.
Hmm.
And it's tzaddik, he feels that these gagum are so strong, but he's so close, but so far, he can't handle it anymore. He says, I'm giving up on this program. I can't get that last mile. And the gagum I have to be with the Borei Olam, and I'm not there, it's just too painful. And he's ready to throw off that whole journey. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, we're okay. Ha'im ein lo rak esek zeh. Kodesh Baruch Hu himself says, is this my only esek? Is this person my only esek? Halo yesh lakam v'kam olamas. I have worlds that I have to deal with. I have many things to deal with. V'chein tzaddik amar b'daitan. The tzaddik is saying to himself, V'chi ein lo rak zos. Do I only have this? He says, Dahainu gagum. Do I only have in my life, in my Yiddishkeit, these gagum to be close to Kodesh Baruch Hu? Halo yesh kam uvdas acheres. There's many other mitzvahs that I can do to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Shetzarach lasas kikon tzitzis, tefillin, shar mitzvahs. I have so many mitzvahs to do. And this mitzvah, what's this mitzvah? Dveikis. Right? That seems to be what it, just being close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. But this Dveikis, I want it so bad, but I can't get there. So maybe it's better if I just deal with the tzitzis. Just put my kavanah into the tefillin. I spend a little extra money on my, my Shabbos food. And that's it. That's how I get to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Maybe it's better, because otherwise it's very painful. This is a very deep madrigas of Parnes HaShana. We're talking about a tzaddik here. And that does not exclude. It does not exclude anybody. When Rabbi Nachman speaks about a tzaddik, everybody, there are actual legitimate tzaddikim who are all the time tzaddikim. And then there's clever like us, wannabe tzaddikim. We have inside of us, everybody has inside of themselves a tzaddik. Right? The midas hayesod, right? The sphere of yesod, that's the koch of the tzaddik within. The koach of Yisod is what? Rebbe's only talking about it for like 8 years now. Hiskashrus. Right? Yisod is hiskashrus, to connect. So when a person wants to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu, that is the tzaddik inside of him. Whether he connects to Kodesh Baruch Hu through mitzvahs, right? A person's about to put on tefillin. He says, Hashem yichud kutsha b'ruch hashchintei, Kodesh Baruch Hu, I want to be davuk to you with this tefillin. V'davkeinu b'mitzvosecha. You become davuk through the mitzvahs. And then there's the higher madrega. What's the higher madrega? Hubo sidbak, says the Torah. There's a mitzvah d'oraisa called Hubo sidbak, to be davuk to Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's straight. Chazal learn it means being davuk to a Talmid Chacham who's davuk to a Kodesh Baruch Hu because it's too high to go straight to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. But for those who learn Sefer Chasidus, those who work on his boidedus and his boidenos, there's a way to go right to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. No physical mitzvah, just straight. If a person is zocha and he works hard and he sits by himself in his boidenos, in deep contemplation about the Borei Olam, the creator of the world. If a person sits in his boidedus, he sits by himself, and he starts, as Rabbi Nachman says, Sicha bein levein Cong, he starts to speak straight to Kodesh Baruch Hu, type of tefillah, straight. Not using a sitter, straight. That's the higher level dveikus, so that high level dveikus comes with hopes and expectations that there will be a palpable and emotional sense that you can feel that you're with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And when I have the tefillin, the ikr of the tefillin is the box. I put it on, I say the bracha. If I did that, I'm yotzei zayin. Of course, there's the neshama of the mitzvah, the dveikis to Kodesh Baruch Hu through the mitzvah, the box. But if I just do the box, well, okay, I did the box, yotzei. But if a person sits in his boidedus, in his bonanus, and he starts to talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and he gets nothing, he's feeling nothing, he feels like he's wasting his time. There's no ma'isa mitzvah that you're connecting to. At least by the boxes, the tefillin. I did the mitzvah. As yotzei zayin. Okay, good. Baruch Hashem. As yotzei. Can move on. But when a person is yearning for Kodesh Baruch Hu and he's just not getting there, it's very easy to just say, okay, I'm done. Let me just do the ma'isa mitzvah. At least let me just do the ma'isa mitzvahs. So we all have that tzidkus inside of us, a potential. But a tzaddik is somebody who tries and tries and fails and tries and trails and tries. As the pasuk says, Shiva Yipol HaTzadik. Okay. The tzaddik falls 7 times but gets back up. A tzaddik is somebody who does not give up, because the tzaddik lives with the level of emes. What's emes? Emes means a lot of things. Emes is when there's something that is so true, you will not give up on it. Right? When the kid says, I want this toy, you say no. He says, I really want it. You say no. How much is the kid going to push? Let's wait a week. Let's see. You still want it? Or are you on to the next thing? If you're on to the next thing, then you didn't really want it. With an emes. An emes is something you will not give up on. If a person finds the Borei Olam, wants to connect, and he gets to the emes, he will not be able to give up on it. He will continue going. Shiva Yipol HaTzadik will come. So this tzaddik, though he's getting it, but it's not easy. It's not an easy madrega to go into that world of the unknown, into the eye, into the Ein Sof, and not get back. So he said, I go back to my tefillin, go back to my learning, go back to my davening, my regular, 3 times a day. He said, I'm done. I got to throw this galgum out. Let me just go back to the basics. Yeah, okay, I'll do tefillin b'simcha. I'll daven with a clapping and a dancing. That'll do. But these deep galgum, just straight for pure elokus, I can't. I'm done. B'soch kach, what happens? Ba'ish Yisraeli, a Jew comes. Ba'ish Yisraeli echad im agala, he comes with a wagon. Right? What was the ma'isa before the mashal? The guy came with a wagon and chapped the ben and brought him right to the father quickly, so he wouldn't give up his gagun. Okay? So what's the nimshal? Or It's like another marshal, I guess. So this person comes with a wagon. Vehevi lahat tzaddik parnasa. He brings money to the tzaddik. Let's learn a pashut. He brings pashut parnasa, money, like we said before. It's a big zach to give money to the tzaddik emes. So he gives parnasa to the tzaddik. Va'idei zeh kirvu vehevi elav yisbarach. And through that money that this person gave to the tzaddik, he's able to come close to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. What's going on over here? And he explains. The pasuk says, "Ki tzadik ochel l'sov nafsho." When a tzaddik eats, he eats to satisfy his soul. It's a different type of eating. We eat, we come, we get satisfied, and we thank a Kodesh Baruch Hu for it. But we eat to fill up our bellies. The tzaddik eats l'sov nafsho, to fill up his nefesh, his soul. Right? What is it? People who learn with Rebbe B'yam Darkecha, he talks about this. That when a person's hungry, what does it mean a person's hungry? Bam is hungry. Not like, I ate 3 hours ago and I just want another good yummy thing. The person's bam is hungry. There's a chisaron, that my guf starts to feel a little chalishas, there's still a little weakness. That's a Kodesh Baruch Hu saying, come close to me. That's what true hunger is. True hunger is that a Kodesh Baruch Hu is calling to you, come back to me. So how do you come back to him? By eating his food that has nitzotzos, elokus in the food. You have to have these kavanas a little bit. And you reconnect to a Kodesh Baruch Hu through those nitzotzos. You're not eating to fill your belly. You're eating because you can connect to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Also your belly will be filled. So when a tzaddik eats, he eats l'sov nafsho. He needs to eat though. L'maisa, physically he does need to eat. This is the bechina. Now this is a hard pasuk to translate because tzachtzachos, there's two different ways. The pashup shot is that it means that Hashem satiates like your parched soul. You're thirsty. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you, basically fulfills your thirst. But then there's another way that Rabbi Nachman uses this a few times in Likutei Moharan. Tzachas is like a lashon of like light, like pure light. The Kodesh Baruch Hu satiates with this high level ore, which is referring to, Rabbi Nachman says, a light that's higher than the spheres. Something very, very sublime. It's referring to madregas of Keser, very high places. Nimsa, let's keep reading. Shat tzadik hagadol hamiti zochai parnasaso. You see what he's referring to over here. Now the tzaddik hagadol, the tzaddik emes, is zocha to this parnasa, money, and eating and food. He reaches the place of orus hatzachtzachos, his very high level lights, which is the fulfillment of his gaguim. It's that devekis that he was looking for. Because he reaches that place, that pure light, it breaks all barriers between him and Kodesh Baruch Hu. He reached the place of Vekas. There's nothing stopping him. And therefore the tzaddik is close to Kodesh Baruch Hu, like he wanted. Nimsa, we find, so we find how great is the delight that this person who gave money to the tzaddik caused. Because you gave money to the tzaddik, not only did the tzaddik fulfill his tainug, his devekis, you also fulfilled the Kodesh Baruch Hu's devekis, his tainug. Because Kodesh Baruch Hu is a tainug that his son, the tzaddik, or us, when we want to connect to him, we're called the son who's a tzaddik. When we connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu in that way, he gives a Kodesh Baruch Hu a delight. Right? It's not just about us connecting to him. He wants to connect to us. Now, it's dependent on us. So this person, this guy who has money, gives it to this tzaddik, and look what he created. A tainig to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, to a tzaddik. Because in this way he was able to bring a tzaddik to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is the Sicha. Any questions on the Sicha?
No.
This Pasha?
Yeah, I have a question. So the ish.
I don't have any answer, so everybody please pay attention.
So does he get the tiny because he knows lift up the tzaddik, or does he just get it from
He didn't say that. He didn't say that the ish gets a tainik. He caused a tainik. The kama tainik gorem zaish.
for the tzaddik?
I'm not saying he doesn't receive a tainik, but in this Torah we're saying that this ish, this man, is the cause of the delight for the tzaddik and for Kodesh Baruch. You want to be that cause. You want to be that guy.
Hope so.
I mean, you want to be the tzaddik also, but if not the tzaddik, at least be the guy who provides for the tzaddik. I'm sure there's a lot to say over here. Again, the eitzah we have. Nothing to talk about. Give money to a tzaddik emes. There's an eating like that, to give money to tzaddikim. There's an eating like that. There's an eating of hiskashus to tzaddikim. We just discussed last week. Right? To be makasher yourself to a tzaddik, so that in olam haba, right? If you have no clothing, you have no garments, you could have a garment. Remember that too. Remember that? So one of the ways to makasher yourself to the tzaddik, of course, is learning his Torahs, listening to his drushes, speaking with him. Another way is to provide money for the tzaddik. And even if it's not providing for the tzaddik when he's alive, I don't know if anybody remembers this. Maybe you were around. We said a shiur, Likutei Moharan, years ago, downstairs in the basement. Remember in the social hall for a little bit? Long time ago. And we discussed this concept of his kashas tzaddikim. And I think it was one of the mafarshei Likutei Moharan. I think Parnes HaShana maybe. Look, very good. We're talking about looking at a tzaddik. Rabbi Nachman quotes a few things. But what happens if the tzaddik's not alive? Rabbi Nachman's not alive. Kodesh is not alive. Baal Shem's not alive. If you give him vidoy, okay. One of the ways is that if a person provides for svarim, of printing their svarim, then that's also that money is, again, it brings you to his kashas to the tzaddik. Right? The tzaddik gains, right? A parent, right? There's a way that you can give a parent an aliyas and a shama when you do mitzvahs down here. If you do mitzvahs down here, and it's because your parent taught you, or you give money to a tzedakah in their name, or you do make a siyum in their name, they actually have an aliyah in their neshama, right? They can't do anything upstairs, but down here we can still cause for them. So when a person is providing money for the tzaddik, even when they're passed away, for their svarim, or whatever it is to help the Torah of the tzaddik go on, you're actually giving the tzaddik an vayter aliyas neshama, vayter dveikus, vayter kirva, right?
Which is in turn causing Kodesh Baruch Hu also
to have a tainik. Because then now also more people down here are able to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Okay, I'm sure there's more to say, but there's an interesting what Maisa. It's not exact. That's why it's hard. What Maisa did this remind anybody of a Maisa in Tanakh? This mashal? Esav and Yitzchak?
Bring me food.
Interesting. Esav and Yitzchak. Okay, but that's only the end. That's only the second part. What's the first part? I think it's Pasha, no?
Yosef
and Yaakov. A ben and a father reuniting. Now the big difference is that neither Yosef the son and Yaakov, there was no person who had a wagon, who had money. But there was one thing that happened in that Maisa. What happened when they met? Yaakov Avinu says Shema Yisrael. So what do we do with that? It's interesting because Shema is the same. Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad, V'ahavta Shem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha b'chol modecha. Huh? So let's build up to that for a minute. B'chol nafshecha, to give up your life. Right? Rabbi Akiva died. About the Lag BaOmer, a lot about Rabbi Akiva, of course. Shreichem Yisrael. Rabbi Akiva died. B'chol nafshecha. He's Moser Nefesh. He reached the height of Dvekas. Shema Yisrael Mamash at that place. So the Indian of Shema is teaching us, Shema and V'ahavta, how does a person connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu in Dvekas? Because what's V'ahavta? V'ahavta is you love Kodesh Baruch Hu loves you, and there's a Dvekas. Echad. Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad. V'ahavta. Habocher ba'amo Yisrael bi'ahava. Kodesh Baruch Hu loves his nation ba'ahava. We then say back, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And then Moshe Rabbeinu says, and how do you do that? How do you connect Kodesh Baruch Hu's love to you and your love to him? He's one. V'ahavta Hashem Elokeinu b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha b'chol modecha. B'chol nafshecha is the madrega of Pasha, give up your life. Right? This tzaddik was on his way to almost giving up his life. He wasn't sure. Should I give up my life mamish, or should I serve a Kodesh Baruch Hu b'chol levavcha with tzitzis and tefillin and all the other things, right? Because he would have kept going towards the Kodesh Baruch Hu for his dveikus b'chol nafshecha, he would have died. He says, I don't know if that's kedai. By Rabbi Akiva, they were killing him, so he was ready to die al Kodesh Hashem. But for a person to go proactively to give up his life, maybe b'chol levavcha here. So what happened? That there was this Aish came and provided money, b'chol me'odecha, with your money, which allowed the tzaddik to eat, which was in a certain way a higher level of Avodas Hashem than tefillin, because of this concept of eating the nitzotzos, connecting to a Kodesh Baruch Hu in this deeper way. Tzach tzachos or, we don't know because unfortunately we're not tzaddikim yet, so we don't know how they eat and what that means. But through the b'chol me'odecha, which is serve Kodesh Baruch Hu with your money, with your stuff, tzaddikim don't always have money. Plus sometimes they don't have money to buy food. When this Aish provided for them b'chol me'odecha, they were able to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu on a level of nafshecha without dying. Now, do we fully understand this? No. Because unless you're tzaddik, it's hard to experience what does that mean. But in a certain way, that's what's going on over here. Right? He was able to provide for them on the level of v'izbia b'tzach tzachos nafshecha. Tzaddik ochel l'sova nafsho. B'chol nafshecha. You don't actually have to die al Kiddush Hashem to be at that madrega of b'chol nafshecha. That's not, that's the highest in a certain way. To be ready to give up your life, Rabbi Akiva. But there's a way to give up or to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu on a soul level, not through boxes, not even through Torah. That's very high levels, and we should. But there is a way through almost straighter levels of dveikus. When a person eats the sova nafsho and he feels satiated in a very deeply physical but spiritual way, he's able to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu in that way of dveikus, in that way of his boniness, in the way of his boniness. So let's say you have a person who's hungry. It's very difficult to do any act of his boniness or his boniness. Just kipshuta. Right? He's thinking about his food. His belly's rumbling. The tzaddik is not eating to satiate his guf. He's eating to satiate his nefesh, that he's able to just put the guf down for a second so that he can really satiate his nefesh. Back to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Something else thinking about it. I don't know. The thought was triggered because there's a sefer that came out, I think BRI put it out, an English version of Sichos Haran from Tzvi Rosenfeld. Tzvi Rosenfeld? Tzvi Aryeh? Remember. That's Yossi's grandfather. He was the one who brought Breslov to America. That's Rabbi Kramer's father-in-law. He was a big Breslov. I don't know if he was born in Breslov. I'm not sure his whole history. There's a biography. My son read the whole thing. I should ask him. But they put out his parish. And he gave Shiur, many Shiurim. So they put, I think, 2 volumes out. I had the first one, so I quickly looked at it. What does he say over here? So he started talking about Yaakov and Yosef and Shema. I didn't get to read the whole thing. I don't think he said all this. I don't want to put that on him. But, yeah. Interesting. Okay. Let's go with Chafei. We have a few minutes. Chafei. In the meaning of thoughts in the mind. Says Rabbi Nachman. Hu pela gadol. It's a wonder if you think about it. There's a greatness of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the way we think. How it is that the thoughts that are in our head, right? Everything that we know, that we have gone through in life, that we've learned, that we've experienced, all of these are thoughts in our head. They're in bundles and bundles, and they're stacked on top of each other. Just imagine going into a room with like 1,000, what are they called? File cabinets. And not just one level file cabinets, levels upon levels upon levels, and all of them in drawers, and there's papers and papers. Imagine you could put out on your brain, imagine it's possible, it's not shaykh, but to write out all that you know. All that you've experienced, all that you've learned. It would be a lot. Even just write out your memories. Well, 2 years ago, the dog bit me, and yesterday I had for breakfast, and 2 days ago I had for breakfast. I mean, endless how much a person would be able to write. And it's all in the mind. When a person needs something, he needs to remember something, and he walks into the big storage room and there's 1,000 file cabinets. He pulls it out of the file cabinet in his brain. Right? Sometimes a little bit harder, a little bit searching. But you pull it out of some file somewhere. Especially when you remember something from a long time ago. It's like, how did I remember that? Like a pillow. It's a wonder. Vadavar Peli says it's a wonder. Where was that file? In the storage room with the physical files. You see them. In your brain, where is that? Think about it. Think about thinking. Have you ever done this before? It's wild. In a quiet time, when your phone's not with you, when you're not hungry, right? You're a little satiated. Think about thinking. Think about when you're thinking about something and it just drops into your head. Where did that come from? Or when you're trying to think of a person's phone number, it just pops in your head. Where did that come from? We call it memory. Very nice. But think about that. Where is that?
It's ingrained.
Where?
It makes.
In my brain? Is it really a 1 and a 0?
Every experience is like a railroad track. There's rails. And it's how many rails you could build.
But is it physically in your brain? Is that thought physically in your brain? Like, is that railroad track?
We don't know. The brain, it's a soft matter, but it's how many rails we build.
Where are the rails being held?
The rail,
the cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
The neurons
Exactly.
Which cloud? Out there somewhere.
It's how many rails since the day you were born, and it starts with the nurturing of the child, and that's what makes everybody different because everybody has a different nurturing.
100%.
So that's what builds the rails. It's how many lines, like a computer. How many megabytes in a computer? That makes the strength of the computer. So some computers are stronger than others.
So here we're talking about memory, which is interesting. Not RAM. If you're a computer person, I'm talking about like the data. What's it called? The gigabytes, not RAM. Storage. Even on a computer, it's interesting. Like you have these chips. You've ever opened up a computer? You ever see a motherboard?
Yeah.
It's a pillow. Now our brains, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is allowing nowadays all the technology. You could either just use it, or it could use you. That's for a different shmuz. That's also a mushal to what's going on in our brain. So a computer is a brain. And then you have like these chips and these things and ding ding dong and like these little circles. You ever see one? Little black circles. And somehow billions of information is somehow in there. It's all stuck in that place. If you take that motherboard somewhere else, I think, you'd be able to pull it up on your screen. Where is it?
All right, now you're getting into the newest thing this past month is the artificial intelligence.
But
you could write a song. Where does it get it from?
You see that there's something going on, and the Kodesh was allowing us to see it now on the outside of us. And we're really supposed to think about ourselves. That we have this in our brain. This was before the computers. A computer is really mimicking God's brain that He gave us.
But look at the writings. Look at the writings of the Brisker Rav. Look at the writings of the Zohar. And they had no computers, and they had no typewriters.
So right, it was coming from a different place. Asher Yotzer, we say every single day, multiple times a day. You have to go to the bathroom. Asher Yotzer Esa Adam Chachma. Kodesh will create a man with Chachma. Not just we have wisdom. Our entire system is of a place called Chachma. It's just it's unfathomable the wisdom that God created with us.
Can't think too much about it.
So we have
I once said, I think I mentioned this here before about Arthur Rubinstein.
Yeah.
I asked him, because you watch him play the piano. I mean, how does the man's fingers move? I said, do you think about it?
No,
I asked him straight.
Then
He
you're
says,
talking,
if I thought about how the fingers would
slow him
move,
down.
he says, I would never be able to play the
Right. If I was trying to think of a memory and I would think about thinking about the memory, I would never get it.
Right.
But it just comes. But to think about that process, to step back, and Arthur Rubinstein, whoever this man is, you keep quoting him. But if he would,
He was a tremendous.
if he would think
and he
about,
was Jewish.
if he would think about, not think about the playing, but if he would think about how did it come to be that my brain, my body can move in a certain way without me thinking, and I could be thinking about something totally different. It's a pella. These things are a pella. Let's keep going. And these filing cabinets, these bundles of information, all have symbols, all have ways of associating with them. And when you remember something because you were triggered, right? You go outside and you see the color yellow, and immediately you think, I used to have a yellow ducky that I loved. Like, where did that come from? You saw yellow outside and it reminded you of a duck you had when you were 3 years old. These things happen. It's like laughable. Where did that come from? How much? It's ma'ora osa machshava de kesha siman shaba. It got triggered from this siman, this color, whatever it is. As I motzi osa machshava, boom! It pulls out the filing cabinet in your brain. From the thousands upon thousands and millions and billions of bytes of data, of memories in your brain, it pops out. Think about that. That's what Rabbi Nachman is saying. Think about that. And then you pull out one file, a lot of other files start to reorganize themselves in your brain, and they go to different places based on however that works. Like we see in Gashmias. If you pull out a file from the bottom, all the other files fall down. And they reorganize. And then you have to put that file maybe back on top. So sometimes that happens with our brain also. Then a person, everything in his mind, sometimes a certain thought comes out, and everything else has to be reorganized and restructured in your brain. We're not even saying we have to take the time. Take time once in a while. Think about the amazing aspects of that we were created with. Now you'll hear sometimes, oh, do you know that your eyes have like a billion, what's the word? To see the colors. Receptors, whatever. Your eyes have a billion receptors. Wow, amazing how God created. But I don't see those receptors. I believe it. But thinking? You could think about thinking. It's hard for me to think about how the blood is flowing through the system, and if my blood would stop for 1 second, I would die. It's true, but I can't really believe that. I can't see that. But thinking? We all think all the time. How did that happen? How did that thought come to my head? How was I triggered? Where was that thought until now? And then to remember, this is all Asher Yatzer Es Adam Chacham. Kodesh created this. That's it. Once in a while to think like that, to expand your consciousness, expand your mind, by thinking about the awesomeness of how Kodesh created us. That's what Rabbi Nachman saying. Think about that.